Today on Homeworthy, step into a whimsical realm where vintage charm meets modern coziness. We're touring 4 cottagecore style homes that will leave you feeling like you've stepped into a Nancy Meyers film. Join us as we visit an idyllic tiny apartment in Newport, a chic beach cottage in La Jolla, a ranch in Virginia, and an airy New York City apartment. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles.
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. To access all of this exclusive content, simply click the Join button below to become a member today. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. Welcome to my California apartment on the water.
Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles.
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the Join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Sarah Horton, and we are inside my Newport Beach studio apartment. So this apartment is roughly 425 square feet. I feel like there's been some debate on social media about what to call this. Is between a studio and I would say a junior 1-bedroom. There is not really a ton of separation between the living room kitchen area and the bedroom. And that kind of flows out onto my deck, which I think adds a lot of square footage, but that's exterior. I actually was living in LA for about 10 years in Venice Beach, another beach community just north up the road. And it was 2020. I wanted to change, I wanted to relocate, and I was actually looking to move to Laguna Beach. And this place kind of came up unexpectedly. I had a friend whose older brother had been living here for, I think, 4 or 5 years, and he wanted to move to Costa Rica. Everybody was changing their lives. And so I got the opportunity to take a look at this place, and I thought it just had such amazing bones. I immediately fell in love with the ceilings. They had so much character, and the outdoor space is amazing. It just kind of worked out, this kind of kismet-y, lucky thing. So before I moved in, this place was definitely a kind of bachelor pad, boy surfer shack haven. There were a lot of ropes strung up on the ceiling, and there were surfboards in between the beams. And I don't want to take anything away from it. It was a great spot, but I definitely had a little something different in mind when I took a look. But again, it had great bones, so I was really excited. Welcome to the main living space. This is kind of the living room, kitchen, kind of hybrid room. And I'm going to take you around and show you some of my favorite things. This pendant light is an antique or vintage, not exactly sure. But I love these. It's a French Empire style crystal pendant light. I actually picked this one up from a consignment shop in Newport Beach. It's no longer there, but I love it. And I feel like it really started transforming this space into feeling a little bit more sophisticated when I first moved here. So anyway, I love this. I feel like it really anchors the room. And then we're gonna go from the living room over to the kitchen. This is my little kind of galley kitchen setup. I recently did a little renter-friendly DIY backsplash to kind of warm it up in here, give me that Nancy Meyers kitchen that I'm always aspiring to. It was super easy and I think really kind of elevated this part of the house because this was sort of a side that I didn't really love to show all that much. And I added like a little shelf up there with some of my favorite things. I've got a Turkish olive jar. I love that little mushroom print. And then this is from my aunt's store in North Carolina. It's a really cool kind of like tin, like bowl vessel thing. Okay, and then this, we're gonna go over here, is one of my favorite pieces. This pine hutch is a Facebook Marketplace find. I believe it's French, or at least it's French inspired. I don't really know where all these things come from, but I used to have a desk here when I first moved and I never really ended up sitting there. It just kind of ended up being dead space. So I was super excited when I found this on Facebook Marketplace. It had actually been at a paint store. You can still kind of see some of the little paint splashes. I did my best to kind of scrape them off, but this was housing like little liters of paint, which was crazy to me. But anyway, I got it on Facebook Marketplace. It was like $250, which is crazy. These go for thousands. I bought it sight unseen and I just had movers go pick it up and bring it here. It barely fit through the door. Very, very lucky and blessed that it did. But I just absolutely love this piece. I feel like it has such an old world feel and it provides me so much storage as well. Living in a small space, having a desk here was great, but having this that doubles as, you know, china cabinet space, and also I have a lot of lower storage down here. And then I'm also really big into art, and this piece in particular is really special to me. My grandmother gave it to me and she actually passed a little less than 2 years ago. So I love that I have it. It makes me think of her, and I'm really inspired by a lot of my family members and their homes, and having something from her home in here just is really special. And then I also love this one as well. This is from a California artist, Sandy Austro. But anyway, I love this one because I feel like it reminds me of a girl at the beach, and you know, that's me, a girl at the beach. So I store a lot of different things. I have extra towels down here, beach towels and bath towels because we're at the beach. And then I have extra kitchen stuff. And then you guys, these are my junk drawers. This is like anything goes in here. I'm not gonna open it for you, but it's a little crazy in there, but comes in handy. I usually keep my plates up here, but they're actually outside on the deck set for dinner. So you'll see them in a little bit. So when people ask me to describe my style, how I've decorated this place, I tend to call it sort of traditional, coastal, maximalist with sort of pops of French country and a little bit of unexpected contemporary thrown in there, which I know is kind of a mouthful, but I guess the overarching theme is this home is very personal. It's very collected. It's things that I love that are kind of from a variety of different styles that I've sort of pulled together in a way that I think looks very calming and very relaxed, but sophisticated at the same time. I definitely get compared to Nancy Meyers quite a bit on social media, and she has been a huge influence of mine. I love all of her interiors and all of her films, and I love that they feel really lived in, and they reflect the characters that are living in that place. And I feel like it just tells you more about the person, and I feel like that's kind of what I've tried to do here too. Okay, now let's go check out the bar cart area. So I love this area of the house because I feel like this is very quintessential beach house. And I feel like here, I was very inspired by kind of Caribbean, India Hicks, that kind of collected like old world, even Florida, like Palm Beach-esque vibe. It's a lot of different vibes there. But I don't remember where I originally saw this, but I love the shape of this like cane bamboo mirror, and then having the sea fans up at the top. I feel like I've seen other designers do that, or in coffee table books. I can't even remember where I saw it, but I just feel like that really brings in the element of like organic beach living. These are not from here though. I picked these up in Tulum and brought them back, packed them flat in my suitcase. I can't remember. I think that one bowl I got at the flea market, the woven bowl, and then these art pieces. This one is from the Mart Collective in Venice, which is like a cool kind of permanent flea market. And then the rest of these are just Etsy printouts. And then this bar cart I feel like it gets a lot of attention. And I also am a big thrifter, flea market person. So these silver coupe glasses are thrifted. This vessel is thrifted. I brought in this sort of ceramic-y clamshell too, to sort of bring in that beachy vibe. So this to me is the quintessential beach house area of the house. So the overall vibe of this place is very kind of cozy, coastal, maximalist. I love to use different textures in here, and especially because it's so light and bright and white in here, I really wanted to use a lot of lighter tones to kind of amplify that feeling. But I like to use a lot of different textures and different prints even, like this rug kind of plays off of that. These chairs have little linen slip covers on them. I had them made. I just wanted something kind of organic feeling, and I love the shape of these tiny chairs. These chairs underneath are from HomeGoods, and they're leopard print under. But I got this really nice kind of like linen blend fabric and took it to an upholsterer and had them do a French seam. And I love how these look. They're so perfectly sized for the space. And then I've got this oversized cozy couch that's in the same fabric. But overall, it's just comfortable and cozy, and it has a sophistication to it, I think, with the lighting, but overall it's really relaxed. I am a full-time content creator. I create a lot of different content here in my apartment for different brands. Prior to that, I worked in brand marketing for a really long time, and I dealt with a lot of the visual look of the brand. So I would work on the photo shoots, social media, etc. So I kind of have brought that whole experience into what I do now. Okay, so this is my like little maximalist treasure trove. I have more sea fans up top, and then a ton of books, and then a lot of personal things in here. I have photos of family. This is my mom and my great-grandmother and my grandfather and my Uncle Tom at the beach on a boat, which is perfect for here. And then a lot of these things are things I've picked up or collected. A lot of the coral I've picked up myself. And then I really love this boat painting. I got this at this place called The Barn in San Juan Capistrano. So I got it locally, and I just thought it was so beautiful. It had a horrible frame, but I popped it out, and now it's just this really nice like beaded board that sits in the back, and I feel like it fits here perfectly with being out on the harbor. And I have one more thing I wanted to tell you about this. We're all about high-low in this house. So this bookcase is actually IKEA. I wanted to find something and source something vintage, but I just haven't come across anything. But I actually really love this, and it just works. The shelves are adjustable, and I feel like it's created this really nice little nook that kind of hides this part of the kitchen. And it's really nice that you can kind of have new, old, you know, high end, low end, all kind of coexisting in one space. I don't really have an entryway, but I did kind of make this little gallery wall moment here. And this is another sort of high-low feature. So these two, I think, were originally from Restoration Hardware, but I ended up thrifting them. This is a Goodwill little purchase. I honestly can't remember where I got that, but then these I took from my mom, and I think they're actually nice. Sorry, Mom. The best thing about living by the beach is being in such close proximity to nature and such close proximity to the water. I find nature in general to be so grounding, and being able to walk just a few blocks and you're just surrounded by gorgeous sand and water. It's really just so calming and relaxing, and it's part of the lifestyle that I really love being down here. Okay, so now you've seen the main living space. Let's go check out the bedroom, which is right here. Okay, so the inspiration for my bedroom is still definitely coastal, cozy, traditional. But we went a little bit less maximalist in here just to make sure it was nice and calm. All white bedding, kind of mixed with like a little bit of an oatmeal. I brought in the natural rattan sconces. And then I have another one of these vintage French Empire crystal pendant lights. This one's more of a sphere shape. And you can tell they're vintage because the tops are actually still mercury glass. I love this painting above my bed. This was actually a 30th birthday present from my parents. And I love that it's kind of an unexpected moment in here because everything is so traditional, and this kind of brings in a little bit of contemporary. And I think it still really kind of reflects the outside, which is very beachy, but I love that piece and it's very special to me. One of the best features of this bedroom is it goes right out to the patio. In the summer, I usually have these doors open all the time. And when it gets hot, I'll even sleep with them open sometimes just for like a nice cross breeze. But it really is amazing having such quick access to outside. And I feel like it enlarges this space so much and makes it feel so much bigger than 425 square feet. I have a lot of white linen curtains here, and especially in the bedroom, I have them covering the door that goes outside. I also have them covering the closet. I feel like it's a great renter hack to hang curtains really high. It sort of draws your eye up and it makes them look custom. And I think it gives it a really kind of cozy, sophisticated look. Okay, speaking of white linen, the white linen continues on the bedding. I'm a big layer person, so this has a lot of layers. But another thing that makes this bed look so fluffy is it's on 18-inch risers, because underneath is where I hide everything I don't want you guys to see. But mostly it's just extra clothes and things I don't use all the time, suitcases, etc. But that is also a great renter hack, is get a high bed and it's better storage underneath. So this little vignette moment is new. I got these vintage botanical plates framed, and they're custom framed to look antique. It's Italian beaded frames. And then to finish that off, I got some sconces from a consignment shop, and then I actually made these like with a glue gun. It's taffeta fabric that I got from a discount designer fabric warehouse, but they're sort of meant to look kind of organic to kind of offset how traditional the rest of this is. But this is a new addition and I love it. It kind of plays into the maximalist aesthetic that I have in here, but it's still kind of clean and calm and relaxing. Another piece that everybody asks about are these dressers. Unfortunately, they are discontinued, but another elevated IKEA find. I'm telling you, high and low can coexist and look amazing. This mirror is a French antique and this is IKEA, and it all kind of blends together in this really awesome way and looks super elevated. I feel like because this place has such amazing natural light, having everything bright and white really works in this space. I think sometimes people assume white makes everything look bigger, which I feel like if you do have a darker room that's really cramped, I think that that is a good time to use color. But in this case, this is an upper unit. There's windows all the way around, so the light in here is really amazing. And I feel like the white just kind of brightens everything up, and I think it does make it look larger. Okay, now you've seen the bedroom, so let's check out the bathroom. And this is kind of a work in progress, so you get a little peek behind the curtain of my process. So currently this is all white, but I am swatching some colors. These are a few that I'm looking at, and I'm also looking to create a shower curtain in a fabric and also possibly a sink skirt. I'm looking at a few different ones, but this one is kind of calling my name because my great grandmother actually had this pattern in like her little sitting room off of her bedroom. It's called Hollyhock, which I love. But I did sort of a halfway reno and then quit last year, but I did pick up these sconces, which are vintage, at a consignment store, and I found this mirror that I don't think is vintage. I think it's a replica, but I really liked it, and I gotta be honest, the price was right, so she was coming home. I'm trying out these swatches kind of in different areas and looking to see at different times of day kind of what it looks like. And then this is sort of my bathroom storage cabinet. It's a pine antique as well, a little Long Beach flea market find, so more to come. As a joke, I did a little kind of TikTok, and I also put it on Instagram, Nancy Meyers characters as Thanksgiving dishes, and sort of compared each one. And I put it up Thanksgiving morning, and I tagged her in the comment. I think I said something to the effect of, you know, so thankful for Nancy Meyers and all the great entertainment and all the great films she's brought us over the years. And, you know, I thought, I just hope she sees it. But she ended up seeing it and reposting it, and it was, I couldn't believe it. I mean, she's such a hero to me, so the fact that she knows I exist is, you know, pretty amazing. Living in Newport Beach is amazing. It's a really laid back beach community, I would say, and I feel like it has a lot of the comforts of LA in the sense of from moving down from LA, there's a lot of the same restaurants, which is great, but I love it because the lifestyle is so serene and relaxing. I am outside all the time. I am walking to Lido Village to get coffee. It's really, really beautiful, and it's a great place to live. Okay, and now for the crown jewel of the apartment. This is the deck. So this has a really beautiful view of a waterway here. There's always boats coming to and fro. It's low tide right now, but I created this sort of cozy outdoor setup. These benches are built in, and sometimes this is a lounge space. This is how I would set it up for an outdoor dinner party in the summer. I kind of want it to feel coastal, but also a little bit like a French garden. So I picked up these iron chairs at a consignment store. I love these. I feel like they feel very kind of French English garden. Also lots of olive trees and lots of florals to kind of warm it up and make it feel not so stark. So I love having a little bit of lush greenery. And then my little umbrellas, which I love. So one thing you've probably noticed already from the rest of my apartment is I have flowers everywhere. One thing I love doing is flower arranging. I'm by no means a professional, but it's definitely a very relaxing kind of meditative thing that I do. So this arrangement I put a little net over the top of this little silver vessel and then just kind of arranged different supermarket greens to create this beautiful centerpiece. My mom actually used to be a florist and a wedding planner, so I am not, but I've learned from the best. I stuck with kind of a pinky purple spring color palette, and I think the key is to space them out properly, but also don't try to be too perfect. Just kind of add where you see space. I like to squint my eyes from far away and look at the arrangement, and if it feels like it's missing something, then I'll add something. But I think sometimes people get really intimidated by doing stuff like this, but there really is no wrong way to do it. So this is a little olive tree, freshly planted for spring, and I love having olive trees out here because they love the sun, and this deck gets a lot of sun. So I do have to water these a couple times a week, but they're pretty hardy and they hold up pretty well under the really intense California sun. Even though I live in a tiny apartment, I love having this space because it allows me to do what I love, which is entertain. I love having dinner parties out here with my girlfriends in the summer. I love to throw like a little themed thing. Sometimes it's Italian, sometimes it's like a little sushi thing. Sometimes I love to just pick up wood fire pizzas and salads and just eat out here, but it really is so nice because it really extends that space and it's an entertainer's dream. So it's gonna be very hard to leave this place. I don't know if I ever will be able to, but the one thing that this place does not have is a bathtub. If it had a bathtub, I would literally never leave. I don't know how you would get me out of here, but I'm really looking forward to that in my next space. What I love most about my space is that I've really made it my own, and it's become this passion project that I continue to renovate, reimagine, and also share with other people, which has been amazing, connecting with so many people from all over. To me, home means your sanctuary, your safe place, the place you go at the end of the day to relax, unwind, and it's a place that should truly reflect you. And I think that's why I love my house so much, is it really reflects my aesthetic, my taste, and my lifestyle and personality.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Leslie. Welcome to my home in California. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
Hi, I'm Leslie Martin. I am one half of an interior design firm called M&M Interior Design, and we are sitting in my home in La Jolla, California. So this house was built in the 90s, and when we first saw it, it sort of was lacking, you know, a bit of charm, like a typical 90s house can, but we saw the potential. It is in an area of La Jolla, California called Bird Rock, that is right on the ocean. We're actually on a cliff overlooking the ocean. So it's a beautiful spot, and it just needed some charm. So we did a lot of work to bring in a kind of a sense of history to it, by adding some architectural details that I'll talk about. But what we loved about the house, aside from the location, is that it just had this incredibly happy vibe to it. And I don't know if we can, you know, tie that back to its previous owners or what it was, but there was just like an energy about this house that sort of spoke to us right away. And what was interesting for me is that it actually is a few doors down from the house that I lived in my 20s, which was just a total coincidence. So in some way it sort of felt like coming home to me. And so now it's kind of strange to be back here with 5 children and hanging out in my old neighborhood, my old stomping ground, but it's really kind of a full circle moment. So it's great. It's rather small, I will say that, and probably not by regular standards, but when you're cramming 5 kids into the house, it does feel rather small. But the great thing about being in Southern California is that we live outside 90% of the time. So we eat our meals outside, the kids are outside constantly, and so we can sort of make a smaller house work for our family. And again, we can't beat this location. Waking up to the sounds of the ocean is just priceless, and I would live in a shoebox if it meant that I could wake up to that view every morning. So this is our foyer. It opens up to really a big great room in the house. It's the kitchen, it's the living, it's the dining, it's all sort of one large connected space. But it was really important that I gave it a moment that sort of makes it feel like an entryway. So great way to do that is a table that's sort of your catch-all. This is a great piece. when we lived in Chicago, we were lucky enough to live in the original Playboy Mansion. And when we bought the condo, we asked the previous owner if we could have some of her antiques, thinking there was no way she was going to say yes to that. But she actually did. And this is one of those pieces. So I love that it's got a lot of history to it. What is hiding behind this is a jib door that opens up, and it's all my storage for all of my china. It's a small house, so we needed to steal storage space wherever we could. So we would utilize that space under the stairs to store all of that stuff, which is great. This shell lamp is one of my favorite things. I have a total obsession with all things shell encrusted. I don't know where it came from, but it's very strange. There's lots of things that have shells on them in this house, which is perfect because we're by the sea. So I found this at an antique store and just fell in love with it, but didn't buy it when I first saw it, and ended up leaving, driving all the way home, and then couldn't stop thinking about it. So I drove 45 minutes back to the antique store to pick it up, and thank goodness it was still there. Always a good idea in an entryway, have a little box to throw things in, keys, receipts, that sort of thing. This little ottoman, I love. It was a country club that was having like a big renovation, and so they were getting rid of a lot of their old stuff. So I got this for practically nothing, and I wanted to recover it in something fun with a block print, but I just wasn't finding the right thing. So I went downstairs to my stack of tablecloths, and I found this one. I'm like, that would be so perfect. So had my upholsterer recover the ottoman in a tablecloth, but you would never know. Always on the ready is my to-go basket. This is the soccer game grab. There's always shin guards and whatnots and water bottles in there, but why not make it cute? It's gotta work and be cute at the same time. This fixture is a huge favorite of mine. I'm a big fan of one of the original interior designers, Frances Elkin, and she did a plaster shell lamp. This is sort of just a more updated version of that, and I loved that it had the rope on it, which made it feel just slightly nautical and a little bit more casual, but I think it's perfect here in this space. The drapery by the front door was a big debate in my house. Everybody thought it was a very strange idea, but it's actually, you see it a lot like in country houses in Britain and Europe, and I think the original intent for it was more temperature control. You could kind of close off the draft, but I think it's great for what we have going on here, which is this Dutch door. With the glass fronts, sometimes you can feel a little exposed at night. So especially if the kids are here, they can pull that and they feel like they have a lot more privacy. And also it's a great opportunity to bring in a little bit of color and pattern, which I'm always looking for an opportunity to do that. So that works well there. And as soon as it went up, everybody stopped giving me a hard time about it because I think they love it too. The mural leading up to the staircase, or up the stairwell, it was more of an issue of practicality, actually. So when we first bought the house, I had only seen the house for about 15 minutes total, and then we flew back to Hawaii and made an offer and bought the house, and I had to do all of the original renovating of the house from afar, and I didn't know the house very well. So first thing I did was just have everything painted white, which was just a good base to start with. So we had moved in, and it was, living in the house, and this whole big expansive wall was white, and I very quickly started to see little muddy handprints going up the staircase, which happens in a house with kids, and I thought, okay, that's gonna drive me nuts. So what can I put on that wall that's gonna sort of hide that kind of wear and tear? And so a mural made total sense. This mural is from a company called Idyllic. They're fabulous. They're out of London. And we had this one custom sized to accommodate the double height because it goes all the way up to the second level. And it's really become such a focal piece of the house. Everybody asks about it when they come and see it. And I don't know if you can see where you are, but it's a beautiful sort of boat scene. And then there's a giant tree that arches up that will carry up to the second level. You'll see when we go up there. But it's fantastic. And the stairwell runner was a bit of a challenge. I had it made overseas, and then it came to me in like 4 different pieces, and we had to have the installer sort of puzzle piece it together. But I love the kind of graphicness of the bold stripe that we've mitered here on the corners, and super durable, 100% wool, can't do anything to it. It takes a beating. I don't know how you would define the style of this house, actually. I call it a beach cottage. It's very simple. It was almost sort of craftsman-y in its architecture. There just wasn't a lot here. So one of the first things that I wanted to do was add some detail to it. So it had just sort of builder grade trim around all the windows and doors. So I had those all ripped off, and we added some bulkier trim and some window sills. And then one of the biggest things we did was this wall to my left was just solid wall and some heavy built-ins. And so I knew I wanted to bring in more light. So we knocked those out and added some windows. We added some shiplap detail to make it feel authentic and old. And we did some stonework in the kitchen. I mean, everything that we could do to sort of age the house in a way. But really just, if you look at it from the outside, it's really just sort of a square box. And so it was tricky to sort of add the details to make it a little bit more interesting. But if I had to define it, I'd say it's just kind of a quintessential beach cottage. That is the foyer, and that leads directly into the living room area. So when we bought the house, this room was actually pretty dark. This window and this window did not exist. They were big, heavy built-ins that housed the VCRs and all of the technology of the 90s that needed to be hidden away. So they had no light coming in from here. So immediately I said, okay, we're gonna rip those out and put in some big windows, which really just floods the light in, which is great. I love using a shutter, a double hang shutter, so we can close this and get some privacy, but still let some light in. And also I just think it's kind of a nice old fashioned look to have these small louvered shutters. I think every living room needs a little bar. So this is a bar cart we've had for many, many years. Mostly it's bourbon. We're big bourbon drinkers. And I just, it's always nice when you have a bar, especially if you're about to have a party, to sort of stock it with some fresh ingredients as well. So limes and mint. And I love collecting these, I think they're English biscuit jars. They used to house cookies, but they're wood and metal, and they are super charming. I actually keep black licorice in this one. Don't tell my kids, but it's sort of my little treat when I need something sweet. So there's black licorice in that one. And yeah, they're just fun. It's a fun thing to collect because, typically antique stores, wherever you go, sort of have, a couple of them. Some are in good shape, some aren't, but they're just great pieces to add to a bar or, stick some flowers into if you need them. The egg prints, I was looking for sort of a series of things, but everything I was finding was pretty expensive. So I found a book and just ripped the pages out of the book and had them framed, and it makes this nice little collection of art. This is Lonnie, our dog. She's a puppy, and she pretty much just sleeps all day. That's her little niche. Thanks for joining us, Lonnie. Like most interior designers, I have a total obsession with decor books. It's a problem. I stack them everywhere, but I love them. There's something about having inspiration just sort of reach away that is comforting to me. And nothing makes me happier than when I see one of my kids flipping through it and actually enjoying the book. I love that they're feeling sort of inspired as well. So they're stacked on the table, they're stacked below the table, they're stacked all around the house. Love, love, love books. Harkening back to what I was saying about my obsession with everything shell encrusted, I even took it so far as to have the couch shell encrusted. This is a fabulous fabric from Y out of London, and if you can see, it's they're shells, which makes a really pretty pattern. But again, I like the fact that it's kind of busy because surprisingly it actually hides a lot of spots because it's got such kind of a busy pattern to it. I've had solid couches in the past, and for whatever reason you can see every little spill and nick, so slap a pattern on it, it makes it a little bit more durable. So this piece is super old. It was from the 1700s, and it is traveled probably all over the world, survived a million different things, and finally made it here. And within a week, one of my children had ripped the door right off. So, you know, things happen. Thank God there's good furniture fixers, and they were able to put the door back on. But it's convenient. It stores all of our board games and some extra liquor and just things we sort of need tucked away. There's not a lot of storage in this house, so we sort of have to take every opportunity that we can, and this serves the purpose for that. This painting I love. This is the Cuba, which was a steamship that shuttled people and shipments from San Francisco to Havana, and it actually sank outside of Santa Barbara, but everybody survived, so it's a happy story. So this painting is really old, and this is the original frame. It's a little bit beat up, but one day I'll get it fixed. But I love that it's an oil painting, but it sort of has this sort of childlike simplicity to it as well, and I love that it has a California history to it. So the fireplace was something that we did when we renovated. We added the paneling, and I wanted something just sort of almost modern, not too traditional. What was here originally was pretty traditional and wood, kind of detailed. So this just seemed a little bit sleeker to me. And it's just cast stone, super durable, and I think it makes a nice statement. And you know, we're in Southern California. I have this fireplace going all the time. Even if I have to crank up the air conditioning to make it cold enough to have the fireplace on, I have the fireplace on. I love a fireplace, so it's nice to have it on gas. You can just flip the switch and it's on. And now I find my kids are turning it on when they get downstairs in the morning, so it's caught on. It's lovely to have a fireplace going at all times. So that takes us into our dining room. We do not have a formal dining room. We just have sort of an eat-in area. And 5 kids, they always want to have a friend over for dinner. So do the math, that's 10 kids often. And this banquette can fit 10 to 11 kids around it, which is pretty amazing. And then the adults will take a chair. But it was the perfect space saver for a small space like this. The banquette really just allows tons of people to get in and get cozied up. I did it in this is not leather, this is a faux leather, which is fantastic. You can actually like put marker on it and wipe it right off. I don't know what exactly it's made of, but it is the most durable fabric ever. And it has this sort of leather grain to it, so it makes it look warm and like it's been around a little bit, but it's actually just some sort of vinyl that is super, super durable. So I would love to say that I'm the type of person that sets a beautiful tablescape all the time. That is absolutely not true. I do not. So my grandmother was one of the most glamorous people that I've ever known, and she was an excellent hostess. And my grandfather was in an entertainment business, and they lived in Los Angeles during their heyday, and I'm just sure threw the most marvelous parties. And she was a big collector of silver. And so when she passed, her silver collection got passed down to her daughters and her grandchildren. So I have a few bits and pieces, not much, but what I do have is super special. And so this is one of her pieces. It's a Victorian pickle jar, which by today's entertaining standards is a little bit over the top, but every once in a while I will get it out and I will polish it up and I'll put it on a pretty table, and it just brings me so much joy to see that and remember her, and I think she would be proud. She probably wishes I polished it on a regular basis. I don't, but every once in a while when I get it out, it just makes me happy and makes me think of her. So super special, a little over the top, but fantastic. So this is a dining area. This gentleman here, his name is Phil or Randy or Brad or Chip. I don't know what his name is actually, but we all have our version of who he is. So if we have dinner guests, it's a fun game. We play with them. We ask them, who do you think he is and what's his background story? So we've had some really interesting versions of this man's past. So it can get kind of silly, but I don't know who he is. I don't know his history, but I found him in an antique store, and something about him just sort of transfixed me. And so I had to bring him home, and he has traveled with us to many a home and now sits here in our dining room to eat dinner with us every night. These sconces are from Urban Electric, a company we use all the time for lighting. They're fabulous. And then the little shades are from Fermoy, just a little pleated blue lampshade. And I think that they're really sweet. I think they juxtapose things nicely. They have sort of the traditional touch with the pleated shades, but the lines of them are very modern and clean. So love those. It's such pretty lighting when the sun goes down to just have those sort of on dim and soft. Not using any overhead lighting. It makes the space feel so cozy. And I love a sconce. I love a wall light. If any opportunity to put one in, we will use one because they're just such nice ambient lighting. The bookcases. So at our previous home in Chicago, we were lucky enough to have a library that housed all of our books. My husband and I both like to collect antique books. And when we moved here, I was so sad because I had not a single shelf in the house. But what I did have was blank wall space. So I asked my contractor to build these bookcases. And I think he thought I was nuts that I was building bookcases in a dining room. But I told him, rest assured, I have a reason for the madness. And so when I opened all my boxes from the move and started putting the books in, I was so happy that I was able to put most of them in a nice, safe spot, and we get to look at them and enjoy them. And I think it makes this room feel sort of like a library / dining room. I mean, it's where the kids do their homework. It's where we do the Play-Doh. It's where we do a lot of things. So it actually kind of makes sense that there's sort of a library vibe to the space. I still have more books in storage, so maybe one day I'll have additional bookshelves to house them in. But for now, this is the best of the bunch that we've got. Lots of shell boxes. Again, I love collecting these little guys. Anything with a shell on it, I seem to be attracted to. Oh, I can see that there's candy wrappers in here from Halloween. I'll just keep that closed. That's where they've been storing them. So that is the dining room. So I own my business with my sister, my younger sister, and we joke and say that we've been working together for close to 50 years, and it's true. We used to be those kids, moving our furniture around in our bedrooms, driving my mother crazy, and we would set up little shops and interior design stores and play pretend that way. So we've always sort of been doing that together. At some point in our lives, in our 20s, my sister and I found ourselves living in Manhattan, and we both had totally separate careers. So she was doing high-end luxury real estate and a little bit of staging, and I was doing marketing and branding. And we both had our separate apartments, and we found that especially our husbands' friends would come to us and say, can you please just help us with our bachelor pads? We're totally lost. So we sort of started doing it on the side, just favors to friends, and then kind of looked at each other one day and realized, we should really be doing this for a living. So we started kind of dabbling in it then. Then life took over. She had 4 children, I had 5 children, and we both just sort of stopped working all together. But we looked at each other at some point and said, okay, we've got to get back into this just for our mental sanity. So I was pregnant with my 5th and she was pregnant with her 3rd. And we said, let's start it up again. And everybody thought we were crazy, and we probably were. But we launched the business, put up a website overnight and thought we're never gonna get a client. It's just gonna be a hobby, it'll be fine. And we got a call. I don't even know how they found us, but we got a call from a local show house in the Chicago area, and they said, would you want to do a room? And we thought, okay, we don't have a portfolio to speak of. We haven't been doing this more than a few weeks. What are they going to give us, like a coat closet? That would be great. So they said, no, we really want you to do the kitchen and the sitting room and the little office. And we thought, oh my goodness, we are so in over our heads, but sure, why not? So we ended up doing it, and from that point on, the business just completely took off. We've never advertised, and we've had just constant business and repeat business, and it's just kind of taken on this life of its own. So I don't know how it happened, but we're so happy that it did. It's definitely grown beyond our wildest expectations. We're still based in Chicago, so our staff and my sister are still there. And I relocated out to the West Coast a few years ago, and so now we have one employee and myself out here. So we're sort of in 2 cities, but our clients are all over the country, and we probably have COVID to thank for that. Everybody got very comfortable with interior design from afar. And so I've decorated houses that I've never even stepped foot in. And that's all thanks to, great technology, a good team. And so we can really just do it all remotely, which is fantastic. And so, yeah, that's where we are. So from the dining room, that leads us right into the kitchen. I'll stop here real quick. This is, I love oil paintings. The more sort of beat up the frame is, the better in my opinion. So this is from a Dutch artist, and I found it on auction. I use a site called Live Auctioneers. It's the best. You can find great deals. I highly recommend it. And then I like it juxtaposed with this Mexican redware pottery that I found. Just kind of playing with the spaces and the shapes, I think keeps things interesting. And it's totally okay that they're from completely different parts of the world and completely different time periods. When you throw them all together, kind of a mix, it seems to work. So here's our kitchen. Kitchen was by far the biggest renovation. So it's the only renovation that we did after we moved in. So we sort of had to live through it, which I now have total sympathy for my clients because it is so hard to live through a kitchen renovation when you're eating Fruit Loops out of a bowl in the garage for 6 months. It was horrible, but we got it done. So pretty much the footprint of the kitchen stayed the same. It worked just fine. I did make the island larger. I'm a big fan of styling an island. I don't like to see a completely empty island, so I made it wider so I had space to play with things. So here sits my collection of just sort of randomness. I love having silverware just kind of out and some crock pottery just for the kids to pull. I always have a candle going. I don't think that's recommended in the kitchen because the smells with the cooking, but I love this scent, so I always have it burning. I went with the honed marble. And I did that intentionally because I really like to see it wear and tear. I love the etching of it. So this is a honed, and certain times of day you can see all the spots in the cup rings and whatnot, but I actually really love that about it. Same as the unlacquered brass. I think the more wear and tear it gets, the better it ends up looking. So we used that. The backsplash I get asked about all the time because I think people think that it's really high maintenance. So it's a stone over-grouted backsplash. And my reasoning first and foremost with this was when you open the front door, you're flooded with this light and the kitchen is the first thing you see. And so I wanted to make sure that the backsplash didn't reflect all that light and kind of blind you. So I really need something that absorbed the light. And this stone does a nice job of that. It pulls in the light and it doesn't bounce back at you. Second reason I chose it was, here in La Jolla, the topography is basically rocky cliffs that sit above the ocean. And I wanted this home to have a sense of history and almost like it had been found. And so the idea of using this stone sort of felt like we had uncovered this house and sort of carved the home into it. And so I thought that was a nice tie to the topography outside. So it works great. And the question I get the most is it hard to clean? And the answer is no, because I don't cook. And secondly, because when we do cook every once in a while, there's been things splattered on this, and this is grout. So you can just take rough sandpaper and actually just sort of sand out any spot that you get there. So it's actually pretty durable, which is great. Same with the plaster hood. I did that intentionally so, again, it would absorb the light and not be reflective back at you. So this is just a nice plaster hood that we did. The lights are from a company called Jam out of London that specializes in antique reproductions, and you would never know that this isn't 200 years old. The way that they age their metals is so artistic and fabulous, and they are, every detail of this is just perfect. They took, I think, a year to be made, but they were completely worth it once they arrived. I could not love them more. And at night, I am a creature of habit, and at a certain time, I will walk around and dim all the lights. I think they call it like lamp o'clock, which I'm just getting my mood lighting going. And so once the kitchen is cleaned up from dinner, I turn everything down and I leave these glowing, and it just looks like soft sort of candlelight, and it's so cozy and magical. I love that. The glass front cabinets was another area of debate because people in my family like to just sort of, put things back willy-nilly, and so it took some learning to know that everything has its place, but we're all on the same page now. And I love being able to see our everyday pieces. I just went with all white place settings, so it makes it actually really easy. But everything lives, here fully exposed and stays nice and organized. I've got my copper pots up at the top that my mother made me register for when I got married, and I never use, but I love that I have them. They're beautiful up there. And these wicker little drinking glasses that I found in an antique store are just so sweet. They're from the 50s. And anything with rattan or cane or anything natural like that, I just love. So those are fun. So this pass-through into the dining room was existing. This was there. And I didn't originally love the idea of it for some reason, but it lets in a ton of light to the kitchen, which is super important. And also, it's just incredibly convenient. The kids don't have to bring their plates all the way around into the kitchen. They can just plop them up here when they're done, and then I do the dishes, or they do the dishes, depending on the night. So it's actually really convenient. And I also am a huge fan of a lamp in the kitchen. Everybody needs to do this. When the dishes are done again and you're turning things down, to have a lamp on in the kitchen at night is just inviting and warm, and it just adds a certain, hominess to a room. I think too, the way this home is laid out, because you walk in and really the first thing you see is the kitchen, it was important to make it feel more like furniture and living space than it did a kitchen. So the choices like making, having a lamp in here, making the island feel like furniture, those were intentional choices to make it feel a little less utilitarian and more inviting. How have I made this place mine or ours for our family? I love sort of collecting things. If you look around, I can tell a story about everything. It's sort of come from some part of my life. The sofa that I'm looking at right now was the first piece of furniture my husband and I bought together, 15 years ago. It's been 4 different colors. We've changed it according to where we were, but it sort of traveled with us. We lived in 9 homes since we met, and so we've just sort of collected like gypsies along the way and changed things and altered things, but they've come with us, so they all tell a story. And so there's not one defined style. Honestly, everything is just very collected and sort of thrown together, and it all works. I might have had a piece in my living room in my last house, but now it's sitting in my dining room. You just kind of have to move things around and make them work for where you are. But stylistically, again, I wanted it to be really casual. Nothing is too formal in this house. It's very small. It's really just like sort of one great room. So everything has to sort of serve multiple purposes. And again, I like traditional, but it has to be very approachable and comfortable. And I want there to be sand on the floor, and I want there to be a dog on the couch, and I want a cooking mess in the kitchen, and I love all that. So decorating with sort of a lot of stuff kind of lends itself to that sometimes, because you don't really see the mess. If it was like sleek and modern, I think every little thing out of place would really bother me. But because I've kind of gooped it up and layered everything on top of each other, all the extra life mess just kind of blends right in with it and just makes the space even happier. So I am from Southern California, but I spent a lot of time on the East Coast in Manhattan and then in Chicago. So I think my style is very traditional, but when we moved here, I knew that it needed to be a little bit less formal, super casual, and so I tried to marry those 2 styles. And also, having 5 children, it needed to take the wear and tear. So I didn't want anything to be too fussy, and really use natural materials that age well. In fact, the more they age, the better they sort of get. So I would say it's kind of a hodgepodge between casual and traditional. I like things a little bit quirky, a little bit off, a little bit imperfect. Again, I'm, go back to things that really can take a beating. The rugs sort of have wear and tear and holes in them, but I like that. I use a lot of antiques in the house, and that's twofold. That's, because I love the look of them, but also if they get a little bit dinged up, that's okay. They came that way. So the more the age, the better they get. In the kitchen, I used a honed marble intentionally. I wanted to see the etchings of, the kids spilling an orange juice. I like the patina that all of those materials bring. So I really kept that in mind when decorating the house. And also too, I wanted the palette that I used to be really just sort of bright and happy. I love, dark rooms and all of that, but I really, with this space, needed to keep in mind that it's sunny and hot most of the year. And so I kind of did a base of everything really light and white, and then added in colors and textures on top of that. And follow me, I'll show you some other areas in the house. So the staircase down leads to utilitarian stuff, laundry, garage, that sort of thing. But this flag I wanted to call out, don't give up the ship. It has significance to us. On my grandfather's side, we're related to Commander Oliver Perry, who was a famous naval officer. And he had this flag commissioned that says, don't give up the ship. And it became famous in a very famous military battle. And then after the battle, and it became famous, they moved the flag to the United States Naval Academy Memorial Hall. And flash forward hundreds of years, I married my husband, and I had bought this flag, and he said, what do you know about this flag? And I said, oh, it's my great-great-grandfather's, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, it's big history in my school because I went to the Naval Academy. So it's got this dual meaning for both of us, which is super, super special. And I just think it's such a great message for when the kids head out the door in the morning to school, like, don't give up the ship, like, just keep on charging. So it holds a special place in all of our hearts for that. And then my husband was in the Navy for a long time, and something that they do is they give paddles as a form of recognition. So he's got his collection of paddles down there, which is fun. And then from there, it leads us right into our den/sunroom. So come on in. So this is our den/sunroom. When we bought the house, it was an exterior space, very outdoors feeling. It was the exterior of the home siding, so we wanted to cozy it up and use it as extra sort of TV hangout space. So we added the paneling and painted it all out this great color by Faro and Ball. I can't recall the name, but I can just DM me. I'll let you know what color it is. Sort of a green taupe. And then we had this sectional from a previous home, and just by sheer luck, it actually fit perfectly. So it sits in here. And this is a frame TV, which we love. It looks like art. You can change the art, but it's really a TV. So it acts as a second TV room, family room for us. The collection of art on the wall is a complete hodgepodge of things. So recently, my sister and I did a room at the Kips Bay Show House in Dallas, and a wonderful antique store in Dallas called Wolf Hall had lent us a couple of oil paintings for the room, and I fell in love with everything that they let us borrow, so I ended up purchasing it for myself when we were done. But this nautical landscape was one of them, which is fabulous. It's very ornate. But the rest of it, it's a very much high-low. So we've got some very inexpensive art mixed with some more expensive art. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no particular theme. But if it makes me happy and it spoke to me, then I just sort of throw it up there. And like any good gallery wall, it works. It just feels eclectic and collected over time. The great thing about this room from a practical standpoint is that with the touch of a button, I can pull down 2 different types of shades. So we can completely black out the room and watch a movie, which is really fun. Or we can put another kind of shade down and just sort of diffuses the light. Also, all of these doors open up completely. So when we entertain outside, we open up the doors and you can watch TV or kind of have this nice indoor-outdoor flow. It's really, one of the perks of living in Southern California is that we don't have a lot of bugs or humidity. So we can really just leave these doors wide open and enjoy the space, which is great. So for the floor, I wanted a marble look without the marble price. So these are porcelain tiles in a black and a white that we had cut down to a specific size. And then I just had my floor guy lay them in a diamond pattern, which is great, completely durable, looks more high end than it actually is. The natural seagrass rug, I love, but we just got a puppy who you met, and she has had a couple accidents in the space. So in order to cover that up, I was looking for an additional rug to go on top of that. And I found this great sort of Dury style rug in London. And I fell in love with it, but it's silk, which is also not very durable with a puppy. But you know, you live and you learn, and I love the way it looks. So that's that. So I'm a huge stalker of estate sales. I get like an alert if there's an estate sale in my area. And usually when you get an alert like that, they'll send you pictures of some of the listings. Most of the time I don't go because there's not much that's great. But this estate sale popped up and it had a set of 4 of these chairs. And so I rushed over and beelined through the crowd to find these. And I'm so in love that I found 4 of them. The seats were a little beat up and there was no cushion on them. But they were a steal, and I just had my workroom make a cushion for me, and voila. Now I have to do something with the other 3, but for now this one looks great in the space. Love those. This console table we've had forever. It's sort of industrial. It's metal with these bolts, but I think it's just a fun piece, super hardy. And I love my little statue guy here that I stick cactuses in. I don't have a green thumb. I kill everything for some reason, but cactuses and ZZ plants seem to survive in my house. So you'll see a lot of those throughout the home. These lights are by Urban Electric, and I don't know if it's showing up now, but they're reflective. So at night, all these little cut glass pieces reflect the light back, and it looks like a little halo of twinkle lights, and they're just really special. The pottery lamp is by a company out of Mexico, and they do really just beautiful, sort of like whitewashed pottery. So that's a pendant from them. So if you have a lot of kids, or even one kid, you know how important it is to make the pieces in your home durable and sturdy. And tip number 1, I'm a big fan of, again, antiques, because they come used. You know, nothing's worse than that first scratch on a new car, but if it comes to you a little beat up, you're not gonna notice an extra ding or 2. So love using antiques. Obviously, durable fabrics are a big deal. The performance fabrics that are made now are just so phenomenal. They can truly live inside and out, and things can get spilled and just cleaned right up. I'm a fan of natural fiber rugs, whether that be 100% wool or like a seagrass. They're really hardy and they're pretty easy to clean. So those are great. And again, don't make anything so fussy and so perfect that you're afraid to have somebody sit on it. Everything should be inviting. And if a pillow gets tossed on the floor and sat on, it's totally fine. So, but I would also suggest, I think people's inclination when they have children is to not invest in things because they feel like, oh, it's just gonna get ruined anyway. In my experience, if you invest in a good sofa or a really, good material that may cost a little bit more, it actually wears better than something that you spent less money on. So I know it's scary to make that big investment, but you don't wanna be replacing something in 6 months to a year because it got some wear and tear. A really well-made piece is gonna really stand the test of time and can totally hold up. I've got a chest here in my living room that is over 200 years old. And how is it still here 200 years later? It's because it was incredibly well built. It's been shipped all over the world probably and been in a bunch of homes, and it's still here looking beautiful. And that's because it was made really well. And so don't be scared, invest in something that's gonna last. So the great thing about being in this room is that you sort of feel like you're outside, but you're inside. But the outside is equally great. So why don't you come on out and I'll show you around the backyard. So this is our backyard. It's not huge, but it does the trick. So my daughter actually had a play date the other day, and they did a painting project. So we set up the table for them, and it looks so cute, I decided to keep it out. So I think we'll enjoy it for a little bit longer. But again, being in California, we can use this all year long, and we'll probably have dinner out here tonight. You can see the kids' basketball court is also here. It kind of serves multiple functions, but we've got some roof decks and whatnot as well, so we utilize a lot of the outdoor space. So this is a new addition. So we just got the puppy Lonnie a few months ago, and the next day my sweet 9-year-old was on my computer with all of his Amazon gift cards. I said, "What are you doing, buddy?" And he said, "I'm gonna buy her a doghouse." So this doghouse came, but it was all in pieces. It was just a doghouse kit. So he worked really hard and made this all by himself. The dog has never used it, but he's very proud of it. So it sits here now, and it's just very sweet. The lanterns are all from a company called Bevelo out of New Orleans. And we've got a combination of electric ones, and we've got some gas lanterns hanging too, which is super special, especially at night when you can hear that ocean and the gas lanterns are going. It feels like you're transported somewhere else. It's pretty magical. And then we also have a sort of a grass area of the yard over here to my right, and it's where the kids play soccer. And you can't see it from here, but there's a straight shot to the ocean. So I think they're the luckiest kids alive that they get to play soccer every night and look at the ocean while they're doing it. They have no idea how lucky they are. I am not a gardener. I have no green thumb. I kill most things that I plant, but I have found that if I plant them in planters, they're somehow more manageable. So I do a lot of kind of a collection of things, and then if something dies, it's okay, I can swap it out and without killing the entire garden. So this is my attempt at planting. The rose bushes were here when we moved in, and they kind of bloom and die, but when they're in full bloom, this entire area is just covered in white roses, and it is so magical. It smells amazing, and it just looks divine. So that's a really special spot. So now follow me on upstairs. We'll go take a look at some of the bedrooms. So welcome to the second floor. This is where most of the bedrooms are. This is our primary bedroom. One of the better views to the ocean in the house. It gets better the higher you climb. So these are French doors that open up to the little deck, which is so lovely. I sleep with the windows open so I can hear that beautiful sound out there. I have my collection of family photos here that I love to wake up to and see every single day. And this bed has been one of those pieces, same thing as that couch. We bought it right when we got married, and it's traveled with us. And it was just from one of those big box retail stores, kind of bland, a solid colored linen. And so I knew when I got it here that I wanted to do something special. So found this great block print fabric and had it reupholstered, which really has given it a whole new life. This bone inlay table was a great find. I have friends, Patrick Wade and David DeMattai, that own a store right around the corner, which is super dangerous, and they carry the most beautiful things. So I frequent them often, and they've had this antique vintage table that was just so beautiful and fit perfectly right here. So it's sort of a desk slash nightstand. So the table lamp is red leather, vintage Italian lamp. I can't recall the designer, but I found it on First Dibs. I love it. It gives us sort of a masculine vintage energy, which I think is great. And then does it seem like overkill to have a reading lamp and a desk lamp? No, because it's hard to turn off a table lamp when you're in bed. So it's nice to have this little guy here. My husband and I will both read at night, but we sort of have slightly different schedules. He goes to bed pretty early, so it's so nice to just be able to turn on my little reading lamp and not bother him with, lighting up the whole room. So that comes in handy. These bamboo chairs, so I would highly suggest that everyone go onto Amazon and buy themselves a set of these bamboo chairs. They're not expensive. They work in almost any room of the house. We use them as outside chairs as well. They are great extra seating if you have guests, and they're just sort of a chicer version of a folding chair, and they age really well. So the wallpaper is a seagrass or grass cloth, and I just wanted it to be in a really natural, neutral color. almost has the look of sand or like a bleached wood. Just makes it feel really earthy and easy. And I'm a big picture hanger. Like I love to hang pictures, but then I change my mind. And so I think grass cloth is so forgiving because you can put a million holes in grass cloth. And then when you change your mind and take a piece of art off, you can't even see the hole. So that's a little trick I like to use. This wardrobe hides all of our sheets and blankets and that sort of thing. And when we got it, it just had some, strange mesh kind of covering on it. So we popped that out and just did pleated ticking stripe fabric, which is lovely and very cost-effective way to do that. So lots of built-in storage, which is great. Obvious answer to what I love most about this home would be the location. We are literally a stone's throw from the sea, and so it's so magical to smell the ocean every day, hear it at night when we're falling asleep, see it. It's the most calming thing, and so I love that about it. But I also love, and this is it was a surprise to me with this house, because we went from 5,000 square feet in Chicago to 2-ish thousand square feet here, which is tight when you have 5 children. But I love how small and cozy it is, and how I can hear, good or bad, I can hear what the kids are doing at all times. I know where everybody is, and there is just something really special about being in such kind of confined space with one another. I don't know if I'll always be able to say that, but right now that's what I'm loving about it. It's really easy to clean when you have a small house, so I love that. And I think, we've only been here for 2.5 years, and I think in that time, we've really made this house feel like ours. We've done things to improve it. I hope that we've done things that, future families can enjoy about the house, but I think we've left our mark on it, and that feels good. This house, and any house really, is always a work in progress, right? There's always something I could make better. But I like that about it. I like that it's a project. If it was just perfect and there was nothing to be done, I'd probably get bored. So I like that it's a little quirky and it needs some fixing. I think that's the fun of it. And then from the bedroom, it leads right into my office, which I'll show you now. So welcome to my office. It's small but mighty. In Chicago, we have a nice, big, beautiful studio, but here it's just me, so I don't need much space. I also have the best views of the ocean from all windows, so that's special. It makes it a little bit hard to get work done because I'm distracted, but I get it done, I promise. Love the bamboo shelving. It holds my sample library, which is very convenient, and I love magazines, so I just stack them up here on the chair, and I can always reach for one. The sconces, again, love a sconce. Come nighttime, I turn off the other lights, I'll put the little sconces on, and it just makes this space feel really cozy and warm. These blinds, they're chic, but they're actually called Chic blinds, and I ordered them at the height of COVID, and they are made in India, so they took about 11 months to get to me, but once they did, I was very excited. I love them. You'll see a lot of designers use these. They're really simple, but sort of elegant and casual at the same time. You can even get them lined, so if sunlight or privacy is an issue, you can get those. But they're just something really kind of charming about them, I think, and their kind of wonkiness. They're always a little bit crooked, but I love that. And my stacks of samples over here, and always, again, just kind of playing with collections of little prints and vintage art that I find, and it finds new homes all the time, but love this collection, and I love throwing in a convex mirror too. That makes it neat. So another collection aside from the silver that my grandparents had is they collected antique clocks. So this was one of theirs. It sadly has stopped working. I need to get that fixed, but I love this piece, and it found its perfect home sitting right here in my office. So love being reminded of them on a daily basis. So now I'll take you into one of our kids' rooms. So with 5 children, we had to double them up. So there's bunk beds in all of the kids' rooms. So this is the youngest set of kids. There's a boy and a girl in here. And I fell in love with this rustic pine bed, kind of a log cabin style bed. It's from a company out of Wisconsin that's family owned, and they're like the only people that do these authentic log cabin beds. So love this. Wasn't sure if it was gonna fit, but got it here and kind of fit just perfectly. So that's great. And then my next favorite thing in this room is this wallpaper. I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of like an MC Escher, like the pattern sort of plays on top of each other. It's a repeat. And it's this wonderful artist out of the UK. She's in her 90s and she still does all this block printing herself, which is phenomenal. And I was really concerned that my kids were going to use it for like a coloring book and color it in, but so far they haven't. And honestly, if they did, it wouldn't really bother me. So this is great. We have our relatives, actually some of them came over on the Mayflower, so this is an important piece to us that we talk about with the kids, and how special it is that we had ancestors that came over on the Mayflower. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's actually all needle pointed, which is really fun. What gives a home a soul is hands down the people in it, right? It's the people that you love in your family. During COVID, we made a very rash decision to sell our house in Chicago and pack everything that we owned and move to Hawaii for a year. And when we did that, I was incredibly nervous because I'm a huge homebody and lover of my own space and like my things around me, and obviously love to decorate. So the thought of, you know, sort of being nomadic and moving into a home that wasn't mine with things that weren't mine was really scary to me. But it did not take long for me to realize that home is really the people. And you know, my family was there and we were happy and we were thriving. And before you know it, you know, this little beach shack that we were living in that was totally hodgepodge and, you know, was definitely not my style, but it very quickly became home. And I think looking back now and even, you know, 20, 30 years from now, my favorite memories are going to be of our time there. And so, you know, home, it's the people you surround yourself with, and that's really all you need. So the tour would not be complete without showing you the absolute best part of this entire house, which is way up here on the roof. So this is our deck where we grill. We don't hang out here as much, but this is great for when my husband's cooking. I get to sit here with a glass of wine and join him. But join me upstairs. This is where the real treat is. Come on up. So now that you've made it all the way to the top and you got your workout out for the day, this is the treat. This is where we hang out all the time. This is the roof deck, and really, honestly, the reason why we bought the house. The view is not quite 360, but almost. You can see downtown to the bay and all the way along the coast of La Jolla, which is fabulous. We get the best sunsets up here. Tomorrow is actually my birthday, so we're having people over tonight to have a margarita party, so we're all set up for that, which is fun. But this is like chill out central. If you're having a bad day, you come up here and you just take it all in, watch the surfers, and you're just instantly in a better mood. So right now there's about 5 surfers out there. There's been days when there's been about 100 surfers out there, which is really fun. I've got my binoculars on the ready so I can spy on them. We also get a lot of whale activity out there, which is great. It's a pretty special spot. So when we bought this, it's hard to believe, but the glass wasn't here, so this was all wall. So you couldn't see the view unless you were standing up, and the second you sat down, it disappeared. So my husband's big project was this deck, and he came up with the idea of adding the glass walls. So we're still at code here because these are considered walls, but we now have this amazing view even when we're sitting down. The word home means to me, you know, first and foremost, my family, wherever they are, is definitely home. It can be, you know, a beach shack, it could be a mansion, I don't care where it is, as long as they're there, that's home to me. I think as a designer, a home, it's always sort of a bit of an experiment. You know, it's really fun to try things that you wouldn't normally do for a client. And always be sort of tweaking and honing your skills in your own home. So it's a bit of a project and an experiment, and I love that. But really, a home is it's where you feel the safest. And at the end of a long day, when your kids are scattered and you're all over the place, to be able to come home and have a casual dinner and enjoy one another is just, it fills your soul and energizes you for the rest of your week and days. And it's just a haven. Home is a haven.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Sarah. Welcome to my home in Virginia. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
Hi there, I'm Sarah Wiley, and welcome to my house in Richmond, Virginia. We chose this house in a roundabout way. I've been married to my husband now for almost 11 years, and when we first got married, we lived in my house over in a different area of town. And it was perfect. I had 3 children, and the house had 4 bedrooms, one for each of my children, and one for me, but I was in a garage. And so, sorry, it was a renovated garage, but it had a tiny bathroom and one closet, one of those 6-foot wide closets, and it just was not a good space for a couple. So we were gonna renovate that house, and we looked into doing that. We actually got some plans, and then we thought, well, my stepmother actually said, I think I know a house you all might like. And so we decided to come and look at this house. It had been on the market for quite some time, but we came to the house. It's so nondescript. It's a ranch house, and I'm not a big ranch fan, but nothing architecturally wonderful about the front of it. Not even inside. It was built in 1966. We walked in the house, and it was very attractively decorated. But when we came back to this room that I'm in right now, okay, my husband has 5 sons, and I have 3 children. Not that anybody, that right now they range from 23 to 30, 35. So not everybody doesn't live here. This is definitely a grown-up empty nester house. You could really never have a family in it, although there have been families in it, but you will see it's not perfect for a family. But this room sold us. It is just the happiest room in the house. Welcome to my front hall. It's not very big, but it's a great entryway. I've got this Tebow wallpaper that is relatively new, probably 5 years. But, and what significance here, I've got 2 pieces of art by my great-grandfather. This one is, it's actually more valuable than most of them because it's a pen and ink, and it's original because it's got pencil marks in the background, but my dad gave that to me. My first husband kind of looked like that, and there's a little inscription on the back of what he said. You know what? I'm going to read it because it's kind of funny. He said, we were married at the time, "This is a drawing by Charles Dana Gibson. Somehow he must have a premonition about the likeness of his youngest grandson's eldest daughter and her husband." And so my dad gave that to me because he's not very charming looking, but the woman certainly is. And this is a oil painting that he did. It's nobody. It's a nobody. He did a lot of nobodies, but they were just models. So we have that now. And this is an interesting little thing. I had a tour here another day, so I really researched this. This is a little gift that a friend gave to my great-grandmother, Irene Langern, and it says, Irene Langern Gibson from Maddie Clark Williamson. We don't know who that is, but should old acquaintance be forgot? Should old acquaintance be forgot? Danville, Virginia, May 5th, 1922. I was going, what is this? Turns out, I looked it up on the internet, and in 1922, my great aunt, Nancy Astor, came to Danville, which was their family where my great-grandparents had started their family. And so it's the family home, and when they all became famous. Anyway, she came to Danville on that date and spoke to 5,000 people. So a friend gave that to her sister, my great-grandmother. Okay, these chairs right here are the host and hostess chairs. And when you see them, you see my dining room, they're missing. I'm having some people over for dinner tonight, and the host and hostess chair are missing. But I'm also going to show you the inspiration for the dancing lamb lady and the sword-holding lamb man. So I get inspiration from everywhere, so I'll show you that in just a minute. I was an interior designer for 28 years, and it was probably 28. It took a while for me to get into what I do now. I have sewn my whole life. My mother got me to take a sewing lesson, and I sewed my own clothes when I was 14. I sewed my children's clothes, I sewed my own clothes, not a whole lot, but I know how to do it. I also needlepoint, and I knit, and I'm very handsy, and I'm also really good figuring things out technically. I actually did photography and had a dark room, so I've always been, all my friends would go to, be on sports, and I was taking art classes. So interior design was great, but it was an easy morph into, well, not really. I started with the monogramming and, the towels, and I started selling them. I would go to the market and buy towels and buy, bathrobes, and I did a little bit of that. Well, it wasn't too long that I said, I hate this. I love monograms, don't get me wrong, I think they're beautiful, but they are so precise, and you have to have everything lined up just perfectly square. I mean, who's ever seen a monogram that goes like that, or a whatever. So then I learned how to digitize, and digitizing is the art of drawing a design, and a lot of embroiderers buy designs like a little sailboat or a flower that they put on different things, or a letter, if you're doing a monogram. But I learned how to draw. The first things I started with were children's drawings, and the idea that instead of throwing art projects that they bring hundreds of home from school under the bed in a box, bring one or two out, I would digitize it and put it on a pillow. And so that's kind of how it started. And I do a lot of pillows with dogs, families, houses, and those are all sort of my commission pieces. But for me, my love is interiors, and I've done rooms, rooms that I find on Instagram. There's also something called the Room Portrait Club, and this woman over in London, England, Sarah Jane Axelby, I believe is her name. She puts out a different picture every week, and artists from all over the place, all over the world, will do that room in their art, which is usually, painted, but I do it in textiles, in fabric, and actually the fabric that I use, it's all interior design fabrics. It's not the ones that you get in craft stores for quilting. It's definitely not quilting. It's interior design fabrics, which for me is very distinguishable to other fabrics that you will see. Let's go to the dining room right here. All right, the first thing I want to show you, well, my dining room table is not always set like this, but I am going to have some friends over for dinner tonight. But these chairs I call memory chairs, and I did these such a long time ago, but they're still memories of ours, of a place that we used to stay. My husband went to St. Andrews. This is our 8 children together at our wedding. So anyway, and then I've got 3 more over there, our dogs, and Chapel Hill. My husband went to Chapel Hill, so it's the old well. And then, as I mentioned to you before, the inspiration for my host and hostess chairs are these 2 platters that I got for a wedding present, first wedding many years ago. I got into knitting animals recently, in the past year or so, and started, anyway, Dot Pebbles is somebody who I found her on Instagram. Actually, my stepsister told me about them. And these are little knitted figurines that I did, little bunny rabbit. Made the pants and ordered another little Etsy shop for these precious little shoes. And then I've got a family of frogs here in the rowboat out for a little stroll. And this is a fun little thing that I've got from my grandparents. I wonder if you can guess what this is. Open it up, and you can probably guess. It's a men's Beau Brummel. Beau Brummel was a eccentric dandy. They were very fancy back in the day. There wasn't plumbing, so they had to have their little bathroom. That's not going to stay, I don't think. But the pièce de résistance is the potty. How about that in my dining room? So remember I told you this was the living room and is now the dining room. And so as all living rooms are, here we have a fireplace. One of these days I'm going to get logs, but we haven't gotten logs yet. But I did pick up this wonderful needlepoint English countryside house that I love. And this painting was my grandmother's. Okay, my grandmother, this is a different grandmother. This grandmother and grandfather lived across the street from where I am now, 2 doors down on the other side of the street. So a lot of things in my house came from there. This is a painting that she had by Russell Milo. He was a teacher at VCU for many years, and I have always loved just the light of that. It looks like it could have been painted today. It's very modern colors, but I like that. And my grandmother was a collector of different things, so these were hers as well from across the street. So when I put the wallpaper in the front hallway, I did this wallpaper as well. It's also made by Thibault, and it's my colors, pink and orange and purples, and it's such a happy, warm color. And as I said, this room was dark. It was a dark living room. It's sort of a dark dining room, but dining rooms are kind of dark, used at nighttime anyway. So, but I needed to show you this, what I've also got from my grandmother, and that is this dining room table with miniature silver. It's a miniature dining room with chairs and miniature silver. William Meyers made this, and I can tell you so much about him, but he made miniature silver originally for his wife and their house. And there was a New York Madison Avenue decorator who discovered him and decided she could make some money off of him. So she had a little shop on Madison Avenue and put these miniatures, some other miniatures I'm going to show you, but the miniatures were in her window. This is from what I read, a roving magazine guy from Harper's Bazaar came by, saw it, put it in the magazine, and people from all over the place came as collectors to purchase his silver. So they had a really good thing going on, and I've got more to show you, but later on he got a furniture maker to make miniature furniture, and said, oh, you know, this is really wonderful. I've got a whole dining room table set here. She put it in the window, and a movie queen, that's what it says in this thing that I read, a movie queen came by, saw it. He said it'd be much too expensive for anybody to get. She purchased the whole thing and put it in her dining room for her Christmas table. So I got this collection from my grandmother, who got it from her mother, who got it from a friend, but I've got quite an extensive collection, you will see, and I just cherish it. So I've set the table for 8 of us tonight, and I picked up Trader Joe's flowers and made these arrangements, and I was kind of pleased with them. Last month I was in Cashers, North Carolina, and these candlesticks right here are made in Highlands, and it's called, I believe, stick candle, and they come in all different colors. These are not very natural. A lot of them are brown, but these are candles that look like sticks. I got the napkins in Provence when we were there last year, my husband and I. These purple, wonderful purple, were my grandmother's from across the street. Love those. Picked up the green ones at Anthropologie on sale. So that was a fun find. I said I'm the shoemaker's child. I don't try not to spend too much money. And then, of course, the wedding china Wedgwood Bianca that was from my first marriage, and Ronald Reagan had this on the presidential yacht, which I always thought was a fun story. So, and I still love those colors. I collected these, I think I've got a set of 12. These are from Turkey. And we were at a Turkish store, you know, Turkish where the guy made them, but I picked out every single one. I've got bowls too. And I love the blue and white. I'm not really a blue and white person, but I did like the blue and white. And so I've got those. I'm also one that mixes a lot of things. These were my grandmother's, my dad's mom, and some of them are sort of faded. These are Royal Dalton. And I've got some more in the other room, and they are Charles Dana Gibson drawings that have been made onto the plates. And I've got a funny story about that. I think I've got about 12 now, but my dad gave me a couple, and I was on eBay and I found some, and I found 3, and I ordered them, and they came broken. So anyway, I ended up getting the money back, but I kept the broken ones in a top closet, knowing someday I was going to use them. So I'm going to show you later on what I've used them for. But that's for in a little while. So when we came to this house, there really wasn't a whole lot that had to be done. I will say I've painted every room but one, and I've wallpapered. The biggest thing that we did, which is the favorite thing that I did, is I swapped out the living room and the dining room. And you will see our kitchen is tiny, and we now live in the room that used to be the dining room. And I could go on, but the living room, which is the room right there, it's kind of dark. It's now the dining room. It's kind of dark. And so I went, I'd gotten rid of a lot of furniture when we moved here, and I ended up going out to Pier 1 and buying these 4, fake indoor-outdoor wicker chairs and put them in there, thinking, oh, I'll have girls over here and we'll sit right here in this little room. Well, I don't think we ever used it, so I don't know what got in my brain to swap them, but that's one of the favorite things I did for this house. All right, let's go to the sitting room. Oh, and this little Pippa loves to be with me all the time. Here we are in the sitting room, one of the spots they always like to sit. This is where we live. It's right off the kitchen, which you'll see in a little bit. I've got a portrait of my daughter, by Jonette Egley. These are some works that I have done, small rooms. Here's another one right here. And I haven't even mentioned my sister is Dana Gibson of Dana Gibson Design, and she makes toll and designs fabric for Stroheim and Rome. And we're just a very artistic family. Right here, I've got, this is a family portrait from the 1970s that I did. It was one of the first people that I did. And it was featured in Country Living magazine, which was kind of neat. And I had all kinds of orders for family portraits back then. Something neat that I have right here as well are these salesman samples. Back in the day, before you would walk into a store, I guess, salesmen would go around and show miniature pieces of furniture. And these belonged to my grandmother, who was across the street. And this one's really fun. This is exactly, not exactly, but pretty much the way it was when she had it. And she collected, I don't know if she collected, but she has all kinds of old stamps that are in here. And I've had fun using some of them to mail out on letters to my friends or thank you notes or what have you. And then she did this back in 1969. She put it's the first man on the moon. And she sent these all to herself with our names on them. And I guess she thought maybe someday we'd frame them or something. Haven't, but I just love this little piece right here. A little Chippendale desk. As far as pattern, I have no rules when I use my different patterns. I once had a client, or I've had several clients that didn't want to use a pattern with an Oriole rug, which I was actually able to talk them out of it, because why can't you put lots of pattern with an Oriole rug? And I will say with my art, I might just use a design and completely redecorate it as I place the fabrics. So that's funny. I did recently get, these are old grain sacks, and I made them into pillows. Which has been nice and comfortable, because this is the room that we sit in all the time and watch television, drink a glass of wine, have a cup of coffee in the morning. Just a favorite cozy little room that we have. Another inherited piece from my grandmother was this pine desk. Nothing fancy. She had it in a room she called Alice's room, which was sort of a catch-all room. But I loved all the little nooks and crannies, and it's even got a little hidden area up here. And I love displaying miniatures. I'm obviously into miniatures. I think you've probably noticed that. These little silver army guys, she had 4 of them, and I actually have my brothers and my 2 sisters have one. So just lots of little knickknacks, but they're better than knickknacks, I think. I mean, look at this little silver windmill. That just super cute to me. So over here we have this corner cupboard that I got. This was my mom and dad's, and I recently inherited that. And I've got more of the Gibson girl plates, or Charles Dana Gibson illustrations, more of my grandmother's little roosters. Down here I've got some of my sisters. She doesn't do these anymore, but they are just wonderful little ceramic figurines, so whimsical and fun. Little dog, a cow, and a lady. And these recent collections by a artist here in Richmond that I just adored. Her name was Susan Gund, but they're little miniature people and fish and things inside these boxes. This is a needlepoint piece that my grandmother started and I finished. But what was so funny is she had done different colors right here, and it didn't matter. I mean, again, pattern, I don't have a problem with pattern. Not exactly the way it was supposed to be, but we finished it, and I've had that for a long time. So my great-grandfather on my dad's side was Charles Dana Gibson, and you either know him or you don't. But he was an illustrator at the turn of the century, and he did pen and inks. And he did pen and inks. He lived in New York, and he actually met my great-grandmother. Okay, I got to go back to my great-grandmother, Irene Langer, and she's one of 5 sisters, 2 brothers. The 5 sisters were really, really, rock and roll cool people for back then. But she was supposedly got 62 proposals of marriage. She was the last Southern belle in Virginia. So that's really was kind of cool. Anyway, I think she met my great-grandfather at the Patriarch's Ball in New York. I'm not quite sure, but she was a debutante or whatever, went to all these places, and I can't remember the exact story or exact wording, but my great-grandfather said to his daughter, his name was Shilly Langern, said, "Oh, what are you doing with that poster painter?" Anyway, Charles Dana Gibson was a famous illustrator, and he illustrated for Life magazine and a bunch of other mostly New York magazines, which of course those were the magazines that went all over the country and world at the time. And at one point he owned Life magazine, but I've got some neat family pieces that have been passed down, and my dad's given me things. But this is something that's really cool. Okay, the Gibson girl is who he's known for. And people would say that my great-grandmother was a Gibson girl, where actually he had started drawing these women 2 years before he even met my great-grandmother. But these women, I mean, you talk about now, women's lib and all that stuff. These women, back with their hoop skirts, the turn of the century, they were the it girl. My great-grandmother was part of starting the Little Boys and Girls Club. She helped start that, and it's still going today. I mean, they did such wonderful things for this country and this world. They lived a lot of them lived in England. But anyway, it's a pretty cool family history. Okay, let me show you my tiny kitchen that's off the tiny sitting room. Well, here we are in my teeny tiny kitchen, but it is all I need. I'm not that big a cook. If I want to cook, I can cook. I didn't do anything to this room when we got it. I liked the quarry tile. I did put this Mary McDonald, it's a grass cloth wallpaper, which you buy by the yard, not by the roll, but by the yard. So I got, and you had to buy a minimum of 10 yards, and I bought 10 yards, and we made it work. And so I've had fun collecting these Italian paper mache trays that I put on there. So most nights when we have dinner, I'll go pick up something at the local Stella's or the Jolla umbrella, put it in a casserole and warm it up. I feel like it always tastes better warmed up in the oven versus the microwave. So that's my way of cooking. I might prepare a little salad. This is the greatest kitchen, and I really had nothing to do with it. I did replace this, but the cutting board's there. Little decorative things around here. Coffee maker in the morning. What else do you need? The other day, my garden club had a wreath making workshop, and I was envisioning making this wonderful wreath for my front door. And we got there, and there were these tiny little round things about like this, but we each got to make our own wreath. It was so much fun and so therapeutic. I had such a great time. And so you did all the greens, and then she had all kinds of natural materials, including these dehydrated oranges that I would wire or hot glue gun in, and I'm quite thrilled with it. And evidently, it can last for a long time as it turns brown and just naturalizes. So, and my friend the other day asked me, "Well, what are you going to do when you cook?" And I said, "Allison, I don't cook that much, so it'll be fine." So I was in New York at John Darien's shop, which I love to go in. He has a whole collection of Aster de la Viette, and I know I'm not saying that right, but not often do I put flowers in it. But for this occasion, I thought I'll put flowers in it. But it actually looks really pretty just sitting there by itself in my little window of orchids. And I like orchids, and I'm able to get them to grow back. This is a perfect window, but notice this little orchid right here. This is a new shoot coming up. Waiting for these. Those are here for another month or so, but love my little orchids in my window. So I want to take you to our family room, which is the room that sold us, where we started, but I want to show you a few things along the way. We have a lot of family portraits. My mom was a painter, but this is kind of neat, and I forget about it. But this is a letter from Winston Churchill to my grandfather, 10 Downing Street, October 3rd, 1940. Dear Mr. Gibson, it's a very formal letter, but anyway, very many thanks for your letter. It was indeed kind of you to write. Something, something, Winston Churchill. So, got that hanging right here. And family portraits. My husband and his father are both pediatricians, and they had a little magazine article. This is a little piece that I did of Charles Dana Gibson and my grandfather. He had come up to Connecticut, where my grandfather was on the Yale rowing team, and so I guess he came up to see one of his regattas. So here's my great-grandfather Charles Dana Gibson and my grandfather Langren Gibson shaking hands. Coming down here, I've got some portraits of my children that I've done through the years. They're rather old, but I do like them. My mom is an artist as well, and I've got some of her paintings right here. My sister, full of talents, did this portrait of me. I was 8 months pregnant with my son, but you would never know that. I remember exactly where I was sitting. And then Charles Dana Gibson did this painting right here. And again, he did the paintings when he was older. Illustrating was what he did for a living, but later on he did these, I think, fabulous oil paintings that are still as important today as I think they were back then, and just as modern, or not modern, but work fine in a 2023 house. Here's an illustration that he did, and you'll love my little wet bar. No, it's not a wet bar, my little dry bar. And I've got a Charles Dana Gibson wallpaper that I found from York of the Gibson girls with red lipstick. And through this back little hallway, I've got some fun little things. These dolls right here, I went through a little period of making dolls. And my friend, I amazed myself that I would do this. I made the faces, I made the heads, sewed all the clothes, knitted the sweater, made these. I made the body out of wire and wrapped it with quilting batting, and then made, this is an Osborne little white fabric. I remember I had made the whole darn body and clothes. This one too, and I've got more up in the attic. My grandmother was a sculptor as well as, oh, I didn't show you some things in there, darn it all, but she did this of me, this little bust of me when I was a little girl. And I love this painted Italian piece of furniture, nothing fine, but I do like it. Right here, I've got some of my pillows that I've done. I think I told you I've done families, and I did 2 of these right here. This is me with my 3 children. And then this is my husband with his 5 boys at this one's wedding. This is a dog that we used to have that another dog has chewed it up. This is kind of neat. This is like the very first or second thing I did. This was a letter to my grandmother. She went to St. Catherine's School, which is up the way. All that was written was Miss Sarah Tanner, St. Catherine's School, Richmond, Virginia, West Hampton, and it made it. It got to her. That's all you had to do back then. So I thought that was a neat memory. This is, let me take this and show you. This is that 1970s portrait that I told you about that I made and was featured in Country Living magazine. Black and white photo of the family. Here I am, I think I was 10, 1972. It was my baby sister's christening. This house is a culmination of all my former houses. I love this house. It's a house, I hate to say this, but it's more, as far as aesthetic, it's more my house and my husband's house. And I think he'd be okay with me saying that. He's the science guy, I'm the art guy, art woman. But it's all, you know, it's, I mean, everybody's going to all this, I'm looking around as I speak, but people, I see so many houses now that are just modern and no brown furniture and, you know, white and cream and taupe and all that. And this house, to me, is so warm. It's filled with family treasures. And I mean, I bought some things, but it's really just a culmination of my 61 years. So it just makes me happy. It's very warm. I would say my house is, I don't like the word eclectic, but it's eclectic. I mean, no, nothing you can say about it. It's a collection of me, my family, me and my family. So it's all different ages. So it's eclectic. And here we are in the room that sold us. We just love this room. It's big, it's got beautiful, I mean, for not very architecturally important house, this room has got great eaves, and we just really enjoy it. This piece was what I was looking for so many years. And it's from an antique dealer up in Hot Springs. Had this in a shop and I just fell in love with it. And a woman on Park Avenue had it, and she displayed those little Chinese, I'm not quite sure what they are, but little mud figures. But for me, they were perfect for my William Meyers silver that I got from my grandmother. So this is just a wonderful display of that, along with her. My grandmother was a silver smith. She made things and little pieces of art that she did, along with a few silver oatmeal bowls. But this china is just, I hope you can look at it really closely, or I'll show you closely, possibly in a little bit. Little miniature forks, knives, and spoons. So this was just a perfect piece of furniture to display my silver. So that's that. I just recently wanted to get a bowl to put orchids in for this center of the room. It's just the room where we hang out. And I went and looked for the perfect bowl to put orchids in. And instead I found this terracotta boar from an antique dealer, and I just fell in love with it. So it did need a little softening, so I put the orchids around it. The orchids are in little baby cups, little silver baby cups that I snagged out of my container, which I thought was perfect, again, softening the terracotta. Now, this is also pretty interesting. 2 houses ago, we lived in a house that we started with 1,500 square feet, and we added 2,500 square feet. And we had a great room like this. And the two sofas were in that room with actually the 2 chairs that are behind us. And it was nice, I liked it, but for a room to make sense, it's much better to have the TV and the fireplace at the same end of the room. In that original house, we had the fireplace and the TV at opposite sides of the room, and it made it very difficult. So when we moved to this house, this furniture is 1994 is when I got it. And so that's pretty old, and I think this is just the first slipcover I made, so it's lasted pretty well. But I mean, this is when I used to tell people, if you're going to use a room, you need to put a television in it. That's awful to say, but we do spend so much time watching television, along with all the productive things that we like to do. But having them both at the same end has been wonderful. I have not purchased that much for my house, but when I do see things I like, I get them. And I used to have several, but I'm down to just this one wonderful bird cage that's got a little painted and patina. And the bust next to that, my grandmother made, and that was down in her studio at her house across the street. And also the Remington Bronco Buster, that was my grandmother's. I do like to point out things like this. You can spend so much money on your house, but there are also things that you can do that don't cost that much. Those two lamps over there are from Home Goods. This lamp right here that I've had people say, where in the world did you get this? This is from Pier 1. So you don't have to necessarily spend a lot of money to make a house look lived in and look good. Meet Pippa and Sophie. This is where they hang out almost all day long, and they are our pride and joy. We love them so much. And to be honest, I often have a cover on the sofas because, as you can imagine, these little terriers, they're Cairn Terriers, they're outside digging in the wall and getting dirt on their paws all the time. So this is a special treat that they get to be on top of there without the cover. Everybody loves their dogs, and that's one of the most popular item I do. And I had to do pillows for mine, and I've got my Pippa pillow and my Sophie pillow. I love that I got my grandfather's oar that was in my dad's house for many years. As I said, he was on the crew at Yale, and this was evidently a big regatta, I think they called them. Yale versus Harvard. L. Gibson, number 5. Time, Yale 2041, Harvard 44, Harvard won. Oops. But anyway, it's neat to have that old oar right there. Hand me down from my grandmother, this wonderful watercolor of the mountains. Who knows where they are? This is a replica of my great-grandmother, Charles Dana Gibson. I think it's just a print, but I think it's very pretty. This is one of the first things I did when I was doing the digitizing of the learning to digitize. And this was the house I grew up on Three Chop. It's a little faded, but that was the first house I did. This home is such a comfortable home for my husband and I, or when we have a whole group of people over, whether it's intimate friends. Actually, tonight I'm having 8 friends over for dinner, and we'll be in the dining room. We've had a really big party. Not that I throw a lot of parties, but the house has a wonderful work about it, and everybody does not hang out in the kitchen like most houses, and you will see why. The reason is the kitchen is the tiniest room in the house. But we've got a wonderful little garden over here. So it's nothing grand about this house, but I can sit in any part of this house, and whether I'm reading a book or answering an email, and it's just a comfortable house. I want to show you a little neat thing about this room is that we have a secret garden, and I've really had fun getting it going. Come here and see it. So here's a little secret garden, very small, you can see, and it's a shade garden for the most part. And I've had a good time getting little things to grow back here. I will say last spring we had a little open Garden Club of Virginia does a home tour, and I planted 200 tulips all throughout here. They came up 3 weeks early, so I had to pull every single one of them out and replant it. So it's kind of a mess now as everything's going away, but it's such a great little space with, again, collections. The trumpet player was my mother's. She purchased that in Maine many years ago. These crazy things right here, I think they're from the 1970s, were in my grandparents' down the road front hallway, and I had them all wrapped up in paper, and I pulled them out for that tour. So they're just kind of funky little things to hang on a cinder block wall. But just little angels and different things. I just love this little secret space. I get inspiration everywhere. Instagram is full of wonderful houses, rooms, all that kind of thing. Magazines, shelter magazines. I'll tell you, I have done Bloomsbury, which is a house over in England. It's actually the Bloomsbury group. The name of the house was Charleston. That's something I've been really inspired by. Duncan Grant and Vanessa, anyway, they were all painters and they lived in this house and they did this wonderful painting all over the walls, the woodworks, and I just love that. And I've actually replicated those designs into fabric. Another great person I'm inspired by is Kit Kemp, and Kit Kemp is an English interior designer, and she and her husband own the Ferndale hotels, and they're mainly in London, or I should say England, but there are two, and I think there's a third one, yeah, coming in Tribeca in New York. And she has the most wonderful, she collects craft, and she represents, well, not represents, in her hotels, she's got crafts of all kinds all over her hotels. Every single bedroom is different, every single living room, and they're just beautiful. And I didn't know it, but I saw a kitchen on her feed, Kit Kemp Design Thread, and it was a wonderful kitchen. It had these fabulous lanterns hanging from the ceiling and just colorful. I think what had happened is these cabinets had just been painted. So bright colors, oranges and blues, and I thought this is wonderful. So I did that and I recreated it as a piece of textile, and turns out it was hers, and I shared it, and they reached out to me, and they ended up doing a Meet the Maker design thread. I'm sorry, I think it's just called Meet the Maker, and they featured my art, which was kind of fun. She's definitely a big inspiration to me. So Kit Kemp and Charleston House. Let's head back inside. I told you this is not the best family house, and one of the reasons for that is the bedroom is right in the middle of the house. Come see my bedroom. It's really nothing special, but it is nice. We've got a wonderful view of the backyard. I've got family paintings here that are just special to me. My mom did this. It's a copy of a water lily. She did these little paintings from photographs similar to what I do. They're paintings of little memories of me with my two girls, and this was at my graduation. I won't show you much of my bathroom, but let me point out, I do occasionally do little monograms still when I have to. I don't like this is a W for us, so I did that for our bathroom. I picked up these chairs from Anthropology, well, off the internet. I ordered those recently because they're embroidery, and I thought they were fun, great colors. These are, of course, my pillows. They're somewhat old that are in there. Another Charles Dana Gibson right here of just unknown person, model, I should say. And my mom painted this watercolor right there. This is my grandmother and my youngest daughter by, oh God, I'm blanking, Sullivan, Barbara Sullivan, who's a great Richmond portrait painter. And then a place that we go up in Hot Springs, that's just a wonderful mountain scene that I did, and I really don't do many landscapes, which is why it's in my bedroom. You may have noticed I have a lot of lamps in this room. I don't like ceiling lamps, and we love the fan, and we have the adjustable mattresses so we can lay in bed and read at night and in the morning and look outside. It's just a very cozy room to spend time in. No TV. Don't like TVs in my bedroom. For me, a house has a soul when it's your own house. When you can look at any part of the house and see something that is yours and your family. I mean, obviously you can go out to any furniture store and purchase comfortable furniture And that's, I mean, you got to do that, but you got to personalize it with your own things. The warmth of family items and family books, I mean, things like that warm your house up to make it your own. All right, let's go to my studio. Come on. We're going to the studio, but we love this little area with the fire pit. We have lovely times here. Oh, I told you that the Charles Dana Gibson plates came and they were broken. And so I have used them as a decorative feature around this pot. So I knew I'd find some place to have them. This is the Good Fairy, a good fairy. She was across the street at my grandmother's. My grandmother had a little wading pool, and the Good Fairy was there. And I don't know if you know much about fairies, but fairies are neither male or female. And so if you look at this fairy, from this side it's a little boy, and from the front and the other side it's a little girl. So you can also see this from the bedroom, and I love looking at her every morning. And in the spring and summer, it's very pretty back here. It's not at all now, but let's go on up to my studio. Here we are in my studio. It's not very big, but I got a lot of stuff in here. I'm kind of a fabric hoarder, but if you look around, it's pretty organized. This is my machine. It's the third embroidery machine I've gotten. This is a piece I'm working on right now. I've got one section that needs to be done. It's all done in parts, but I kind of cleaned it up knowing you all would come. There's always more things to be snipped off. As you know, working with fabric, it frays a lot. It frays a lot. So this is Lyford Club, the Lyford Club down in the Bahamas. I wonder if I was really attracted to the brown walls with the white palm trees. I can't remember the name of the designer that just redid it. I should know that, but I will post that on Instagram and you will be able to see that. So this is where I spend a good part of the day. I love what I do. I just have such a good time creating and making, and again, it's just brought my whole life together, from interior design to sewing to figuring things out, and I just have had a really good time with it. There really is organization in this chaos. It's pretty much color-coded somewhat. It gets messed up some, but if you look, it's color-coded. It's also sorted by sizes, these all being the biggest. These are all tiny, not tiny, but typical memo samples that you use for interior design. Well, that's been cut, but I mean, I work with some pieces that are this small to pieces that are a little bit larger, and they all have the tags on them. Not that that matters, but we have, these are definitely memo samples that are, a lot are donated to me. They're all outdated, but it doesn't matter to me. I'm just going for the color. My color is like paint, but I get the color from the fabric. Right there, the name of my interior design business was Sally Smith Limited, and I got that sign made, and I have just kind of kept that there just as a memory of where I came from. My last name was Smith at one point, and Sally is a nickname for Sarah. My daughter that came, she's 8 years old now, but she's much younger than the business. Her name is Sally Smith, so that was kind of funny. But my husband and I on our honeymoon went to see a play called Me and My Gal in England, and the lead person was Sally Smith, and so I always liked that name. Home for me is walking in the door and having my little dogs run up to me and flip over for a belly rub, and then I can go sit in my room, plop my feet up at the end of the day, and enjoy a glass of wine with my husband.
On On today's episode of Homeworthy, you're going to see a chic New York City apartment that is light and airy, but was once full of mismatched furniture of the wrong proportion. With many DIY projects, this 450 square foot rental apartment has been transformed into quite the beauty. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi Homeworthy, I am Carly. Welcome to my 450 square feet rental apartment. Come on in. Hello, I am Carly Fuller and we are in my Hell's Kitchen apartment, which is 450 square feet on the 5th floor of a walk-up. It's 3 rooms, the kitchen, bedroom, and our little living room. A walk-up means there's no elevator, so we get a serious workout in every single time we come home. I live here with my fiance, and we have completely outgrown this apartment. We're definitely the oldest ones in this building at this point. There was a sign on our neighbor's door saying happy 22nd birthday. We're 34 and 33. But we've lived here for so long that it's just become our home, and it's really hard to think about leaving. Of course, I search for new apartments all the time, something bigger with better amenities, but moving is such a hassle, and it really is home at this point. So I don't see us moving anytime soon. We've been here for about 6 years. I've been here for a little bit longer. I lived here with a roommate. I found her on Craigslist. I don't know if anyone uses Craigslist anymore, but I found her on Craigslist and she was already here. So I work for a few different designers, some home stagers and interior designers, and I love it. I love being all over the city in different neighborhoods and seeing like these really cool apartments from the worst to the best. I love being out and about. I don't think I could be someone who works from home, which is a good thing because our apartment is very small. So we don't really spend that much time in here. So it works out. When you enter our apartment, you're immediately in the kitchen, which is the center of our apartment, and it's where we spend the most amount of time. It's our everything room. We don't have an entryway, unfortunately, so I've had to create one kind of on this corner. This is a shoe cabinet, and I have hooks in the hallway. I have a little seating moment over here since we do spend the most amount of time here. I used to have one chair for so many years and we would fight over it. So I finally got another one. They are from Zara and I love them. And then I've kind of just grounded this space with a faux cowhide rug because it felt like everything was floating, and now it just kind of makes it its own little corner. And I recently just got these from the floral district. This is just for you. I was carrying this on the subway. It was really funny. Okay, so our shoes are in here. Hopefully it doesn't look like a shoe cabinet. I got this secondhand and actually sanded it down on my roof. It was a disaster at first, but I really love how it came out, and it took me all weekend, like Saturday and Sunday, before a neighbor finally yelled out his window to shut something up, because I was making so much noise with the sander. And then I just have the mirror here to make it kind of an entryway, and a big fat bowl, which is like a catch-all bowl, and we just needed something to keep this area clutter-free. You're always walking in the door with things in your hands. So at the moment, I mean, there's chargers, hair clips, and receipts, and random things like that. This is the kitchen. I had to add, well, I didn't have to, but I wanted to. I added this island here. It's from Wayfair, but I found it secondhand on Facebook Marketplace. It was fully built. So Martin and I, who is my fiance, had to wheel it up 10th Avenue for about 10 blocks and then get it up these 5 flights of stairs. And that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do living here. People have asked, like, what's the hardest thing? That was the hardest thing. I was no help at all. I don't know how we even got it up here. It was all him. But anyway, it is where we eat. I don't really I don't cook that much, but it's obviously extra countertop space and then more storage space as well, which is great. I have peel and stick marble paper on them. I wanted to do on both so they match. And I love peel and stick paper. It is a bit annoying to work with, but once it's on, it's not going anywhere, and it's such a great rental hack. This is new. Okay, so I had the worst, most disgusting chipped sink for all of my 6 years of living here, and I finally convinced my landlord to get me a new one, but even better, I was able to pick out what I wanted within his budget. So I found this brass faucet from Home Depot and this porcelain sink, which is the exact same as what was here before, because I didn't want to mess with like trying to find the exact same sink. So it's the exact same one. This is wallpaper over black tile. I really wanted to brighten up the space. It was just so much black. It goes all the way up to the ceiling. I covered it in wallpaper, and it's like a beadboard patterned wallpaper, and it's not a complete success because you can see the tile through, but I prefer it so much more than the black tile that was here. I have these cabinet pulls I got them on eBay, and they're just vintage and I loved them. But we only have the one hole, and I just thought, let's see if I can get away with just doing that anyway. And it actually works. It doesn't. This is probably the most loose one. They don't really move. They're very secure. So anyway, that's that. And then I have this really old, terrible fridge that I cover with photos of friends and family. And I know it looks messy, but this is how the fridges in my grandparents and my home in England looked, and I just feel like this is just so cozy and homey to me. And then a microwave on top because there's nowhere else for it to go. Over here I have some shelves. People ask me about them all the time. They must look nicer than they actually are, but they're just pieces of scrap wood that I painted the same as the wall and got these brackets from Home Depot. I think they were like $4, $5, $6 or something, and I painted them gold to make them look nicer. On these shelves are like coffee and tea mugs. I have some tea here. I actually need to get some more because I ran out of my peppermint recently, and that's my favorite. Yeah, we drink tea and coffee, well, mostly tea all day long, so we needed a little tea area. It is so British to drink tea, but they drink a lot of black tea with milk, and I'm drinking more like herbal teas. No, they drink all teas, but you can't go to a home in England and not be offered tea, and it's usually black tea with milk and or sugar. Over here is a very recent DIY. We used to have a gold shelf propped in this little nook, which was fine, but I really wanted to elevate things. And so we built these recently, and when I say we, I mean Martin, because I probably did the first two and I started losing it. I couldn't finish. Things weren't adding up, so he came in and saved the day. Again, these are just pieces of scrap wood from a lumber store very close to us, and I painted them the same. Oh, I should mention the lumber store made all the cuts for us, which was so good because we only have some hand saws and that would have taken forever. And I painted them the same as the wall color, which is Benjamin Moore Sea Pearl, which is a gorgeous, it's supposed to be like a warm off-white color, but it definitely changes depending on the lighting. At the moment it's probably reading quite cool because it's a little bit dim in here right now. But this is our bar area. So I was about to say we love to make cocktails, but we don't make that many cocktails. We actually just choose to eat and drink out because we live in New York City. Like, how can you not? But it's nice to think that if we wanted a cocktail or if a friend came over, we can make them one. And really it's just here for show because I love glassware and I love like vintage pieces. Some of these things are from my grandparents' house. This is a light switch that I got from Amazon actually, and it kind of looks like a doorbell, you know, like one of those things like pressed for champagne. So I love that. And I recently came home from Mexico with a couple pieces. So it's kind of just like a collected area of glassware and pieces that I'm finding in vintage stores or vacations. I have this disco ball here, and it just sits here for now, but when the sun comes through the kitchen window, I love to like put it in the light, and it makes all these, it makes the room look so pretty. So I have 2 of these in our apartment. It's so random, but I love it. It's a framed brick feature wall, I suppose. It's also in the bedroom. I really don't know what the story is behind it, but in the other apartments below us, the entire wall is brick, but for some reason the landlord decided to just do this little framing moment, and I love it. It wasn't always this color. Don't be mad at me, but I did spackle over the red brick. People see that as such a crime, but like people do it all the time. And the frame used to be gold, and I just kind of wanted it to look, I don't know, just more calming. We are lucky enough to have these hardwired sconces, and they used to match the chandelier, which sounds like it would be nice, but they were really gaudy looking. So I switched them out for something a little bit more modern and spackled over them because I just love things with texture. This chandelier, it wasn't always a pretty gold, it was more like a red bronze, and it was missing a lot of crystals. So I added more. I just found them on Amazon. They're not crystals, they're just kind of like glass teardrops. And I used rub and buff to kind of bring it back to life. I'm so lucky to have these skylights in here. They just produce so much light. Without them, this apartment would really be like a dark hole. People ask me what my style is called all the time, and I honestly don't know. Words I would use is, hopefully it comes across this way, sophisticated, relaxed, calming, light and airy. I don't know what style that is. Maybe you can tell me, but I love natural materials. I love glass and marble and earthy tones. People think this is a pantry. It's not, unfortunately. This is where all of our tools are. My fiance is a real estate investor, but while he's here in New York City, he is a handyman. So I lost out on all this closet space for tools, but it's great because I do so many DIYs and he helps me, and we rarely have to buy anything new. I am from England, the southeast of England, and I came here to help my cousin and babysit her kids because her nanny was leaving, and she was begging me for like a year, and I was like, no, why would I do that? I don't want to babysit kids. But I thought it would be a great experience. So I thought I was coming here temporarily, maybe a year max, and I ended up staying for, it's now 11 and a half years. I wanted more money, first of all. So she was paying me a little bit, but I wanted more money. So I found a job in a bar, made great money working in bars, met so many friends, met my fiance, and this is just now where my life is, and I could not imagine living anywhere else. Like, I just love this city so much. It's my favorite place in the world. Living in a small space is not easy, but after doing it for so long, I've lived here for 11 years and I've always been in small spaces. And I've learnt, which no one wants to hear, is that you cannot keep all of the things that you want. You have to live minimally. I don't own that many clothes or beauty products. If I don't use it, I don't keep it. Even when it comes to decorating and decor, if I don't like something anymore, I'll sell it on Facebook Marketplace because I just don't have the room to keep it. But staying organized, yes, it's hard. I store a lot of things under my bed and under this futon. So in small spaces, always buy furniture with height and maybe drawer space. If you're gonna get nightstands, don't just get a table, get something with drawers or just some type of storage involved. It's all about using multi-purpose furniture. Yeah, I hide everything in every nook and cranny that I can find. Welcome to our bedroom. This is our brightest room in the apartment because we have these 2 big windows, and I have framed them with floor to ceiling length curtains to really accentuate the height in here and make it feel more elegant. And then I have them pooling on the floor as well because I think it looks romantic. Over here is our dresser. I've had this for so long, but this holds all of Martin's clothes. He has a few pieces in the closet, but that's mainly for my stuff. And then on this wall again is the framed brick square. Behind me is where we keep our laundry and just like hoodies on hooks and stuff. It's really boring. Coming over this way is my little vanity nook. This is where I do my makeup every single morning or most mornings. And then I have this big olive tree here to kind of keep, I don't know, kind of separate it. And then the pendant light as well above. It's just a plug-in, but it helps ground the space as its own. A lot of people ask me about the shelf on the radiator. We don't turn this radiator on because this apartment gets so hot with the heat on, so it's just off all the time, which means I can lean that shelf right there, and that's obviously where my makeup is. Behind this frame is our AC unit. Da, da, da. It's actually a really attractive air conditioner unit, but I just still think this looks better. We don't take our air conditioners out in the wintertime because we just have nowhere to store them and it's such a hassle, so we just leave them in there and I cover it with a frame. On these windows I have put black electrical tape to make it look like the grid panelled window. I don't know if you can tell, but I think it looks quite good. I loved that little hack. It was like the cheapest hack I've ever done. And then I have done a few DIYs in here because I'm all about budget friendly. These pendant lights, I have copied ones that are ceramic on Etsy, but these are just made out of literally card paper and spackling, and I have battery operated light bulbs. I have a remote for them, but they also have a little switch and they can go dimmer if you want. I think that's so cute. And then the nightstands too are a DIY. I used the IKEA Tava nightstand, stained it black, and then I built the frame and stapled in the cane and attached the hinges to make a door. This wall paneling on in most of the rooms in our apartment. It's also in the hallway and in the living room, and I just think it's such a nice way to add some visual interest without having to do too much, because I do like an effortless, relaxed look, and I didn't want to go crazy with big pieces of bold art or gallery walls. I just wanted something subtle, and I just think it adds just enough. This is my closet, and some of Martin's stuff is in here too. It's very small. It's the only place we have to keep our clothes. In the top ones, we keep our suitcases, which at the moment has all of our summer clothes in, and then when it becomes the summertime, I put all of my winter clothes up there because we just don't have enough space. From the bedroom, we're gonna walk back through the kitchen, down the hallway into our little movie room. So this is our little movie room. It is our living room, but we call it a movie room because we don't really come in here until the evening. It's so tiny, you can't really gather in here. It's very much just we're in here to watch TV. Again, I have the paneling on the wall because I didn't want a blank wall. I wanted something visually interesting, but I didn't want anything too bold, and I love how this came out. Again, Martin came through and helped me on that. In this corner over here, I thought it was the perfect opportunity for a pedestal, and Martin made that out of wood and I spackled over it. And then I wanted something with height to kind of help this room feel a little bit bigger and taller. I'm always trying to work vertically and use like the height of our room. So I wanted something green because I think greenery just adds so much freshness and life to a space. However, nothing would stay alive here. So I've made this out of real branches and fake artificial leaves. And I really like how it came out. I think it looks cute. I just used a glue gun to attach the fake leaves to these branches. I had to actually stick 2 branches together because I took a branch from my grandparents' yard. They live upstate. And when I got back, I was like, no, this isn't big enough. So then I went to Central Park and this sounds really weird, but I know exactly where to look for branches. So I'm just walking through Central Park with my branches. And yeah, so now these are 2 branches kind of glue gun together to make it extra tall. I have a dresser here because they are just the best for more storage. And in here we keep our extra linens. Actually in this top drawer is like our laptops and chargers and just like printer paper. I have to show you where the printer is actually. You're gonna laugh. And this is vintage from Apartment Deco. I think that's how you say it. It's Apt Deco. And then above I have this piece of artwork, but I don't know if you can call it artwork because I made it myself out of Amazon boxes and paint mixed with baking soda, which gives you that texture. And then I just found some like wood to frame it from Home Depot. And then I have these little branches here that I got from the Flower District, and I don't know how long they're going to last. Here is our printer. We barely use it because we're not like corporate people and I barely have to print anything unless it's like a return. So I kind of the door pops open like that and I don't even have to take it out from underneath this futon. I got this sheet from Etsy. I wanted to something just to cover this. It's quite an ugly off beige futon, but I refused to buy another one because it's perfectly fine. So I just cover it with this sheet and I like that relaxed look. And the reason we have a futon is because I just love to have our friends and family stay with us when they visit the city, which is all the time because everyone wants to visit New York City. The room is so narrow that I didn't really have enough room for a proper like TV media console, so I just thought this bench fit perfectly here. And it could potentially be more seating if we were to have people over. I could pull it out and they could sit on it. But I have these books underneath, which is hiding the Wi-Fi box and some ugly wires. This is our classic tiny little bathroom, but we have a window, which can be quite rare in New York City apartments, and I'm really happy about that. I haven't done a whole lot in here except put white stickers on the all black tile floor, because just to give it that classic checkered floor look, and I've painted this vanity white. It used to be just an ugly veneer wood color. Oh, and then I've just hung artwork with command strips, and that's it. Home is your own safe space. You can be your 100% yourself. It just feels like home. I think it's really important, even if you're in a rental place, even if you're living there for just a year, to really make it feel like your own. There's nothing better than coming home at the end of the day into your own sanctuary and feeling cozy. Like no matter what living situation you were in, just try to make it your own, and you're going to be so happy coming home from work at the end of the day, like walking into what's yours.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.